I was given a chance to speak, which is usually a mistake because I usually talk too much, as I've already demonstrated today. The first question that I was asked was about how can those who protest or who advocate for social justice do so in a positive way and not just become part of the chaos and the noise that surrounds so many issues. Which I thought was a really good question to ask about Justice Southbury. So I took the opportunity to really talk about Justice Southbury, knowing that it's an audience where some people had been to rallies and many had not or had never heard of the group. So I took that opportunity to really talk about Justice Southbury, the formation, how we went from anger to trying to be positive, how we developed our mission and vision statement, how we grounded everything in the non-religious imperative to love your neighbor. And if I'd shut up then, it probably would have been fine. Then someone asked a question about Artivism, because this was called Artivism, which is the combination of art and activism. And because the panel was a little bit quiet, I jumped in and I talked about Guernica and Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen's Streets of Minneapolis. And I talked about the visuals of a peace sign and the visuals of a pride flag. And again, it was probably a good answer, but maybe unnecessary. Then when we opened it up for questions, a couple of the little girls, 10-year-old girls, both talked, and they both asked questions about how do you stop people from bullying and how can we get people to be nicer, which was a wonderful moment. And I probably didn't need to, but I jumped in to encourage them that, my 3 daughters, when they were that age, started this Wildlife and Recycling Foundation, and they won a statewide award, and they really got this thing called Justice Southbury going. And everything I said was probably okay, but it was definitely too much. And I am my own worst critic, as I'm sure you probably all are your own worst critics. I tend to be a ruthless self-critic. In fact, this afternoon when I leave, I'll probably debate whether I should have said ruthless or relentless self-critic.
You were great yesterday. I don't know, man.
However, Jeremy, thank you for that. However, at the end, someone whom I respect very much, and whose opinion I respect very much, and whose judgment, wisdom I respect very much, came up to me and said, Rick, there were 8 people on that panel, including 6 women, 3 of whom are women of color. You spoke the most. Don't take this the wrong way, but we are supposed to center their voices. Their voices need to be heard. Their voices in this context are more important than yours. And I thanked this person because I said that takes courage to say to a friend, you messed up. And I agreed, and I understood, and I couldn't disagree with that. But of course, after we left, the next 10 minutes, I'm in the car, and I am just giving it to myself. You son of a, you shouldn't have. And I was just as low and as mad and frustrated as I could be. But then, dressed like this, because I wore this to promote our group and our Artivism of our logo. And I walked into Barnes & Noble to get Kathy a present. As I'm walking in, a woman walks out. I don't recognize her. She looks at me and she says, Mr. Justice Southbury, thanks for what you guys are doing. And I thought, you know what? It is not about you, Rick, jerk. It is about the group. It is about the values. It is about what we show when we're out here every week with people yelling at us. And so it ended up being a really constructive criticism, and criticism I didn't disagree with, but it ended up being a really good reminder and a really good takeaway. That it's not about, shoot, I said this word wrong. I should have spoken for 2 minutes and 30 seconds rather than 2 minutes and 70 seconds, if there's such a thing. So anyway, I thought it was really ultimately a really good moment and a reminder that what we do here is more important than that we do it perfectly.